All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be doing the dual animal project. So what you're going to do is combine a background, a body, and a face of a creature, or two bodies, however you want to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Pixabay. Got my nice images here. I'm going to go to download high quality for the background. So we'll start there. This is going to go into my downloads folder, so I'm just going to open that into Photoshop. And I can do that by going to my downloads folder, right-clicking, and hoping that it'll open with Photoshop. Or you can just go into Photoshop and do an open and on your computer. And there she is. All right, I'm going to get rid of these guys. Don't need them, don't want them, don't care. Generative fill, generate. And hopefully it does an okay job. Let's see. And it'll give you some variations if it doesn't do an okay job, but that's actually totally great. So that's fine. All right, now let's go ahead and get our cat. So I will just download this as well. Get that nice high quality. When you're picking an animal, make sure the animal is completely in focus. Make sure the animal, you can see the whole body. I can see that the tail's cut off, but I can work with that. So downloaded it, high quality, and let's do the same thing to the grizzly bear. All right, and I'll just go in here and just drag them in. Go to my file explorer, download them, and let's shrink that. Oh. I'm using Alt, by the way, so that it comes from the center, just a little easier to work with. And then kind of think about where you're going to put your cat. It's kind of a small critter, so it's probably going to need to be pretty low. I can make my cat big, though. We'll say it's a monster cat. You can see it's also got kind of a weird angle, so I'll probably have to tilt it a bit. And then my bear. Using Alt, getting that. That'll be about that size. Let's not worry about that just yet. All right, now I do see that there's an area here that I got to fix, so let's go to the cat layer, and I'm just going to, using a lasso, see if we can just generative fill that. This generative fill stuff is going to my head. It sure makes life easy. Well, can I get one where it completely removes the leaf? I cannot. Well, that stinks. I mean, I could do it again. I guess I have to. But I don't want to take the time because you guys are waiting so patiently. So what I'm going to end up having is two different layers, and I don't really want that. Oh, hey, I put it behind it. What the heck? That's wonderful. So I'm going to merge these layers together just by selecting both with Shift or Control. Right-click and just merge those layers. It becomes one. Now I'm going to use the object selection tool to click on the cat. And if there's any areas it misses, like right there, you can fix that with a paintbrush. So let me add the mask. And then I can just go in with a paintbrush and using some white paint, fix any of the areas where it didn't quite get it right, like right there. Let me turn my flow up so I can see what I'm doing. That part, that's a little tricky. I don't know. Just gonna estimate it, something like that. And then here, looks like we missed a spot there. And then the tail is gonna be a little cut off. Okay, now to get this cat to look like it belongs here, I'm gonna have to do some things to make it feel like it's like kind of natural. So the first thing I need to do probably is go on the mask. And I wanna put it like a little bit of texture and stuff to, maybe I'll just use a slightly textured brush, maybe a special effects brush like this, and let's see how that looks. Okay, so let's go on to that mask and just, oh, I thought I was using black. Remember, black on a mask will erase, white will add, so I'm just doing that to kind of make it look like it's like kind of blending into the grass a little bit. I could also use a soft brush. It looks a little funky on the tail with all those little dots. So And you could even do like, with a really small brush, you could even do like little blades of grass kind of popping up. That would be much easier with your drawing tablet enabled. Mine is not right now, so it's going to look kind of dumb, but you get the idea. Just a little bit of that going on. And that's going to make it feel like your cat is actually there in the grass a little bit. And you could even do the same thing maybe here. There's a little bit of dirt right there. The next thing I'm going to do to my gigantic cat is blend the colors to kind of make it look like it fits into the background a little bit better. So I'm going to make an adjustment layer here for exposure. And you'll see that it does everything, every layer. So click on this button, and it's going to create a clipping mask so that it only affects that layer. And I want to play around with probably the top and the bottom slider. Those are usually the ones that I mess with the most. And try to get the contrast and the color and the lighting to kind of match a little bit. This middle one I'm probably not going to need to mess with too much, but let's see. This is the before, this is the after. It's a little bit tricky to get it perfect, but let's just say that that's fine for now. Okay. And maybe go a little darker. A little less of that. Okay, so the before and after, you can kind of see. I probably overdid it. You could also do a little bit of color correction using an adjustment layer if you need to. Color correction, color balance right here. So I don't know, maybe it needs to go. And again, I got to click this button so it only applies to the cat, not the stuff below, but I can maybe add a little bit of blue in there to just kind of get it to match the look of this photo a little bit more. Just don't overdo it. It should be subtle. I'm just getting rid of some of the reds. All right, and then let's go ahead and chop the cat's head off. Go to this layer and just using some black. I'll keep a little bit of it. All right, and then let's go to our bear. If your bear happens, or whatever your head is, happens to be facing the wrong way, you can Control T, right click, flip it if you need to. I'm going to shrink it and try to get it so that it's facing the same kind of direction as the cat. I kind of want to line up that and that. You know, that the head should be relatively the same size, probably a little bit bigger. Maybe something like this. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is just object select it, get rid of the bear background. And there we go. Now you can see that there's a blending issue. So let's do our best to try to get these colors to match. And I can do that. I've got a couple of tricks up my sleeve. Let's make a new layer. And using the eyedropper, let's take this color. And let's try setting this to color mode and see what happens if we can kind of... It's very gray. There is a little bit of tan in there though. So let me just, I don't know. That's not really feeling right. Let's instead, sorry, if you do end up doing something like that, you can do what's called a clipping mask layer. Create clipping mask, and that will only apply to the bear. Well, I did that wrong. Layer, create clipping mask. Why did that not work? There he goes. So that way it'll only apply to the areas you paint. It won't apply to anything else. But I don't like that. Let's see if we can get some better results with some adjustment layers. Let's try exposure first. And again, I got to click on this so it only applies to the bear. Just trying to match those a little bit better. Okay, and then let's try a color adjustment layer with the color balance. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get... I don't know, I'm just going to play around with these sliders and see if I can get any closer. It's not too bad. Okay. Let's see how this looks. I'm gonna just pull that down a little bit more. So now I'm gonna try to blending it. So I'm gonna go to the mask and I'm gonna use a soft round brush. Probably pull the flow down a little bit and just get rid of those seams. So we end up with that. I feel like the head is a little bit too far that way, so let's go over here. And that's actually kind of cool. It looks pretty ridiculous, which is kind of the point. Maybe if I turn it up a little bit. That's kind of funny. I lost a little bit of the ear, so let me get back on the mask and maybe just define that a little bit better. So using a brush, let's get nice and small here. I'm using white. Let's see, where does the ear, right about there. All right, and then there's a little spot there. I got too far. Just clean that up a bit. And if I need to go back on the cat layer and kind of adjust that, that's fine. I can do that too. All right, so there's our bear cat. The color's not bad. This feels like it matches over here pretty well. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's funny. Now we could finish it off with a shadow. So I'm just going to take all these layers except for the background and that little generative fill one and just put them in a folder. And let's duplicate that so we have a copy of it. Oh. And I'm going to take right click on that folder and I'm just going to say merge group, and that'll actually just become its own layer. Let's stick that underneath the other folder. Oops. Underneath, not in. There we go. So I'll turn that off for now. And you can see we got this. I'm going to Control T to transform, right click, flip vertical. So we end up with that. And just kind of match those guys up. Now, we're going to make the exposure on this, oops, all the way down. So we get black. Set it to just that layer, and you end up with this. And then it looks like the shadows are kind of going to the right in this one. So locking the feet where they are, I'm going to try something different for this one. Let's get a little creative. I'm going to try what's called a puppet warp. Under Edit, I'm going to go to Puppet Warp, and I'm going to lock these spots in place by clicking the little points there. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to push this back, and I'm going to push this back. And the feet should stay in place, but we'll end up with everything else kind of going in different directions. As it gets further away, maybe it kind of shrinks a little bit. It's going to be kind of a weird one. I don't know if this was the right idea. I feel like I regret this. But let's just see what it looks like. Ooh, come on. They're going to have to call me back. I'm in the middle of something. All right, I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to pull the opacity down on that so that it kind of matches the other shadows. It's not great, but whatever. So there we go. And you go and export that and submit it.